What's up, everybody? Spirit with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Space Engineers Programming 101. When we left off in the last episode, we managed to actually get our subsystems kind of working, in that we can now navigate our menu a bit. So, I did find that if you... Ooh, that's new. Yeah, like this. If you hit select on individual or something that we don't have a menu system for, or more importantly, we don't have a back button for, it doesn't really behave that well. Because then it gets stuck, because there's basically no way to get it back from that cycle. So that's kind of what we need to work on right at the moment. But more importantly than that, we also need to kind of work on getting it to do stuff at this point. We're getting it to where the we're kind of getting it to where the actual adding menus and stuff like that is working. Like, we've got our main, we've got our inventory, we have slots for refinery power and oxygen, you know, stuff like that. So we're getting it to where it's just plug and play at this point, that, you know, if you want to add a new menu, you just go in and add it. Though, let's see, what is this? Case inventory. Select goes through and finds the number. I'm almost thinking of converting these into methods, but I'm not sure if I can do that with that specific of a thing. Like, theoretically, I could put this into a method right here and call it, like, select inventory menu or something, and then it would basically go through and pick which one, whatever's going on. The only thing with that is that it's kind of redundant, in my opinion, because if I'm having to make a different method for each one because of the specificity? I don't know, the specificness. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Because of that, if I have to change it every time, I don't know, then it almost feels like it's more work. Like, I would have to go through and do a switch case or an if statement that goes, what state is the current thing in? Like, it would basically be recreating it. And I don't really feel like doing all that. The only thing is, this seems way smaller than this does up here for inputs. It's probably just line spacing and stuff like that. But I don't know. Let's actually iron out this part at the moment. Let's do current menu. Let's do all our primaries. Refinery and selected equals 0. Actually, you know what? I can just copy these two lines. I mean, I know that they're not really building a IDE or anything, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's an interactive development environment for coding. And I know that's not the point of this, really. But I kind of do wish there were some more refinements for ease of operations. Like, for example, the fact that when you hit new line, it always goes all the way over here to the left instead of following the case. But that might, I don't know, I've never tried to code an IDE, so that might be a lot more work than it's worth. They did actually, there is a way, I just personally have not figured out how to record Visual Studios itself, but there is a way to actually set it up in Visual Studios to where you can code in there, and it's much faster, much easier to use, and you get IntelliSense and everything, which is awesome. But I think the version of either fraps that I have or something that I have in the settings, something. I've tried it before, and whenever I try and record my desktop that's not like an actual game, it ends up just being a black screen. So I've got to figure out how to do that, because I do think it would improve our coding time without having to work inside this environment. So basically, that's it for the main menu. We're done with main, unless we add more methods or whatever. Or I mean more options. Which we might, who knows. But we've got input for up and down. Select now has options for all the menus and such and so on and so forth. Input back shouldn't do anything. So yeah, main menu is basically done. Let's put a comment above this. And let's do something like that. That way we can see what's going on. Okay. Obviously they don't do anything yet at this point, but... And I have this set up in here. I'm not... Actually, I don't need lights anymore. Actually, I don't need this at all, now that I'm thinking about it. And I took it out of startup, didn't I? No, I did not. Yeah, because that uses the OS. I've already got the display things. Yeah, I don't need that. I don't know why I didn't get rid of that before. Alright, there we go. That's better. Everything compiles correctly. Good. One cool thing that would be awesome is to collapse stuff. In like Visual Studios and stuff, you could highlight and just collapse this to one line to where you don't have to mess with it or scroll past it all the time, which would be cool. But again, they're trying to build a game, not really build like a Visual Studios or whatever. Now, some of this... let's see. Let's go ahead and add options to all this. Like, I already did this one. Select a menu item equals... Wait a minute. Why does this not have a selected menu item? Actually, why does this? I don't know why I put that in there. It shouldn't need to do that. I might have just cut and paste that from somewhere, I guess, and wasn't paying attention. I usually do this series at like late at night, which is probably a bad idea. Programming and sleep deprivation don't usually go well together. Alright, so this will give us cases for all this stuff. Let's see, and then we've got... So this is inventory menu. Let's also do up here, we're going to do a larger comment. Just to make it different, and call this primary menus. And maybe... Let's just give it a new line here. And then down here, I'm going to put another one called secondary. I think was the thing that I did. That way, it's just easier to figure out what's going on and where everything is. Why is this off by 1 or something? The spacing is being very weird. I don't know. Let's see. It should be in line with everything. That spacing really bugs me. I don't know if anyone's noticed that or not, but it just really drives me nuts when it's off. I can't stand it. I don't know what it is. I've never been able to handle it. It's always just really bugged me. So bear with me just a second. I gotta fix this. Again, this is one of those that, like, in Visual Studios or something, you could just do, like, a Shift Tab, and it'll back it up. I don't know. At some point, if I really continue this series too much longer, I really do want to actually figure out a way to do it in Visual Studios. Display all inventories. But before we do that, let's do... what were the other ones? Individual inventory. Summary. Oops, let's go ahead and do one more. And do total inventory summary. Now, individual is going to be far easier, so we're going to work on that one first and get it out of the way. We've already basically done display all, that just shows... let's see... Display all... Oh, that's right, I wrote that as a separate function down here. So it just says if it has inventory, display it. I did use the custom name instead of the type name, which was probably a good idea. That way that you can actually find it in the terminal without having to go hunting for it. Where did I call this, though? Display all inventories. Oh, here it is. It's on the display under submenu. Ah! Okay. I gotcha. So down here we need to add... tell you what, before we get any further with this, let me go through and clean some of this up too and add some comments in here to make it a little bit easier to read. Okay, so we're trying something a little bit new. I'm actually trying to use XSplit instead of Fraps to record in the actual Visual Studio setup. Now, some of this, it flags errors here and there as they change things and update the game and stuff. Like this one used to work and now it doesn't. So, not really sure what that's about. But it's not super really that important because this isn't something you're running. Like, you're not going to run this program in Visual Studio, so it doesn't really matter if it can compile it or whatever, if there's errors that keep it. The biggest thing is basically the code starts here from what you see in the game. This part is all for Visual Studios to set it up to where you get IntelliSense and things like that. Now, IntelliSense is really cool. For example... now this is interesting too. I'm using a block group here, and if you look at the warning, it says, IMI grid terminal system block groups is obsolete. This will be removed in future update. So that means they're kind of planning on getting rid of this type of code, at least in dealing with block groups. So that's unique. But when we get down here, let's find something that has a value. Main display. Let's try main display. So if we go all the way down here to our display, and let's just assume we were going to write something here. See, like that! Oh my gosh! I've missed you, Visual Studios. So like if I hit enter, it just goes right down. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, and if we tab, and we shift tab, we can back up. Oh my gosh, I should have done this a long time ago. Alright. So if I were to type main display, now it knows this is an IMI text panel, which you can see. If I hit dot, it'll actually show us the different functions and methods and things that it has. Now, I will say this, if you don't know what you're doing with the programmable block, this could get really confusing because half or more of these aren't actually available to the programmable block. There are only certain things. For example... There is one function in here that I wanted to use all the time. I think it's components. Like get components or something. No, it's something with components, because I was going to actually use it to figure out... I was actually going to use it to figure out what kind of blocks and how many materials and stuff you had. Let's try something. Grid. Oh yeah, IntelliSense, how I love thee. Blocks. Maybe it was in here. No? Get... Has component? No. Man, I don't remember. Anyways, there was some kind of component value that you could actually do. But you'll see stuff I'm looking for one that has the variable type that I'm looking for. Let's maybe? I don't know. There you'll find one that says like IMyEntity as a variable type instead of IMyTerminal block. That can't be used in the programmable block in game. It won't allow it for whatever reason. I don't really know what the reason is, unless they just had to protect some of the code so that you couldn't do like game breaking things maybe. But as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in here that, like, it's like, what is all this crap? I pretty much use the wiki for what I can and can't use. But I figured this would be easier if I could get it to work. So let's go over some stuff, because I've added quite a bit of stuff to the code once I got working in here again. So I've added options for all of the different menus. We've got inventory options, refinery options, power options, and oxygen. I've just collapsed the naming a little bit for the total. I've made lists for each thing so that that's set up. And in startup, I've added new functions for each of the menus. What else did I do? Oh, I added those menus. You can see here refinery, power, and oxygen. I just have test at the moment so we can check and see if it works. I don't recall if I did anything else. Oh, I did have to change something in the comments. Now, this is very, very important with commenting. If you're not familiar with it, if you are, then, you know, tune out for a second, I guess. For comments, if you do a double, I forget which one is slash and backslash. I think this is slash, and then I think this one is backslash. I don't remember, though. I get them confused all the time. I use them interchangeably. So if you do 2 slashes and then start typing, anything past that line will be commented, but if you do a new line, now it won't be. Okay? With the slash star, or asterisk, if you type here, but then you do a new line, it's just going to keep commenting. So the close case is not this, which is actually what I had it as the first time when I was still in the in-game. I had it like this, and you can see it does not comment this out. It doesn't do anything. So it has to be the same /, and now all this becomes uncommented. That's very important. So basically the one with the asterisk is a multi-line comment, to where you can just keep going and then close it as you want. And the double slash is a single line comment. Just bear that in mind, because I couldn't run the code and I was like, what did I do? I thought I did everything right. And then when I looked it up, that was the problem. I also added in the total inventory summary and individual summary cases for the screen in the right menu, as we already had them up here. Or no, where did we have them? Oh, I was going to put them down here. That's right. And so I've added the functions that we're going to write in for those to work. So I'm basically just plugging in some code for us to use later. For this, we can probably just duplicate this, because this is just the right menu, the main menus. Oh, I love that when I just, oh man, it's so great. And actually, no, I'm not gonna do all that. I was gonna say I could just do a find and replace, but there's too many of it, and it highlights things. Man, we're gonna get so much done. So refinery options, and we can double. Oh man. Oh, I really did not realize how much I was missing programming in this. I hate the in-game. And again, that is not a critique on the developers. I'm not saying they've, like, you know, slacked off on the in-game development, in-game programming block or anything. It's just not as optimal as using a full-fledged IDE. But I understand that they're probably not going to do that, because I mean, wait a minute. I just noticed... Oh, okay, that's like all of them. Anyway, I saw this and I thought maybe this one wasn't set up right, but it is. So now we have stuff set up to where it'll display all the main objects. And I actually have the code in here to run these, we just don't have anything in them. So that's all set. So write display is basically now done. It's pretty much finished. As far as for now, it's going to display what it needs to display. So the next step is we need... I'm trying to figure out which one I want to duplicate, inventory or main. I want to duplicate inventory because, yeah, and actually I really need to switch this, to be honest, into, no pun intended, I actually need to switch this to a switch case, but it's whatever. I'll do that later. It works for now. And oh, by the way, speaking of that, while I'm copying and pasting this stuff, up, down, select, and back is all one, and then that's part of the case, right? Yeah. So now I need to put in the cases for refinery. Okay. Somebody had mentioned in the comments of the last video about kind of making it more legit programming instead of all methods and things, as doing it in classes and more object-based. Technically, my structure, my architecture is probably going to... It probably is object-based anyway, even though I'm not using objects, mostly because that's just how I learned to program. I just, when I started learning, I started with object-oriented, so it's probably going to be object-oriented anyway. But I'm not technically using real objects because I don't have any classes or... I think, what's the other one? Classes? Templates? Maybe? I think those are all considered object-oriented. I don't remember. I don't remember all the criteria anymore. Anyways, my point to that was that, yes, it is a good idea. I didn't do that originally because I didn't know it was a thing in Space Engineers. Like, I knew you could do it regularly. I didn't know you could actually do it in the programmable block and make it... Like I said, there's some things it can't do. It doesn't like certain things where it's going, nope, you can't do that. This is just, like, scripting, not full programming kind of thing. Like, it's weird. There is some stuff about that. What do I need? I need to change this to ref. There is some stuff about, like, the way it's set up, that it's designed to be more of a script than an actual full-blown object-oriented code. And that becomes kind of obvious as you start getting into more advanced stuff. Reference should be... Refinery should be 2, and then this should be... No. This should be 0, refinery should be 1 when it goes back. Okay. And then we'll have to change this to stuff, I guess. Let's just change all that. So yeah, it's not a bad idea. And at some point, I'm focused right now more on functionality, that when the functionality gets there and it's done and it works, then I will probably try and, for lack of a better term, optimize it to where it would do, like, more of an object-oriented based is what I'm getting at, basically. That I agree it's a good idea and it would make the thing run better. Probably. I don't know. I don't know how it actually would deal with that, but it would, if nothing else, it would make it more efficient and it would make the code cleaner and stuff like that, which is great. Truth be told, I just didn't know it would do it. I didn't think that was possible in-game with the programming block. I figured it would lock you out of doing that, whether it be from memory restrictions or whether it be just in the code, like it won't let you use certain class members of the things that are already in the game. So I just figured it would lock you out of that. But if it doesn't, or there's a workaround, yeah, I'll totally end up converting it eventually to doing that. Important note here, I did use total O2 options instead of like OXY or something like that. It just seemed like the thing to do, I guess. Oh crap. I meant to copy this one. So what I'm doing here, in case it wasn't obvious or I didn't properly explain it, is I'm basically just setting it up to where everything's done and it's like a template placeholder type of thing that then when we decide, you know what, we're going to add these options in to each sub-menu basically. It will already be in the code. Now, there is one other area that I'm not sure kind of how I want to handle. And that is whether or not I want to do... this should be 0. This will be 1, and then that'll be 2. Whether or not I want to do a different comment style for each thing and make them like, this is inventory submenus, this is refinery submenus. I might do that actually. And this should be total inventory summary. Did I spell that right? I feel like I had an extra M. I did. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that actually. Let's do inventory submenus. And did I make this plural? Again, stuff like that just bothers me. Okay, that is primary. Wait. Okay, yeah. I like to make sure that I'm following the same context? No. Case, maybe? I don't know what the proper term is, but basically theme. That everything, all your labels and stuff all look the same or have the same contexts, so that at a glance you can tell, okay, this is a subsection, this is a individual function, you know, whatever. I just like to make sure I'm covering all my bases when I'm commenting stuff. And for a very long time, when I was in college going for programming, I hated commenting stuff out. It took too long and it was boring and blah, blah, blah. As I got into more advanced codes, though, towards the end of my kind of academic stuff, and I started doing team-based projects, I started doing more elaborate codes and things like that, it was like, oh, I've got to comment everything. Display visuals. It made it, like, especially when you're working with a team. Oh, it just made it so much easier. I'll work on commenting the methods out later. Let's make this inventory, and then I'm just going to copy this. And then we'll actually work on the... sorry, I know this is a lot of, like, just, I don't know, cut and paste and refining, but it just was something that I wanted to do, and now that I'm actually in Visual Studios, it just seemed like the thing to do before we got too into it. And actually, we're getting stuff done. Like, everything's in place now. Theoretically, all of these main menu functions should actually do something. We just have to alter the test functions. Or not test functions, but the submenus. I have them labeled as test right now just so that I could load something and check it. But in theory, everything should be loaded and you should be able to navigate the menu. It's just the menu options don't always do anything. So let's work on individual inventories. Now this is going to get a little bit more complicated, and I might actually have to pause it for a second because I have to remember how to actually... This one we were just looking, did it have an inventory and display what the block is. This is where things get iffy, is that we actually have to go through and show what's in the inventory, which we've done before, but it was a while ago, and there's a really tricky system to getting the access to the inventory. So let me pause this for a second, and I'm going to work on that. Alrighty, so I was doing some research, and that led me to this pseudocode here. Well, it's not really pseudocode. I made this based off of an article I read because I only pulled out what I needed. Apparently, the block updated a few times since the last time I tried to access inventories, so it isn't really the same way anymore. It's actually a lot less complicated. So you make a list of inventory, my inventory item, or a list of items, basically. It's not plural because of the class name. And then we take and populate it by whatever the block, whatever the block you're trying to use. You call get inventory 0, which we'll see in IntelliSense here in a second, but I'm pretty sure the 0 is the starting item slot, I think. I'm not entirely positive on that, don't quote me on it. And then get items will add it to all the lists. So you don't have to do the 3 different... You used to have to make an inventory owner, or no, you had to have an inventory, then that went to an inventory owner, then that went to inventory items or something like that. It was very complicated. It really didn't make a lot of sense. And then you did a for loop based on the number of items in the list, and then you can add it to the list. Now this is the part that interests me. It's items at the index of I, content subtype name. I feel like that might have been how we did it before, but we might end up with a more legible name. I'm not entirely positive, so I'm going to keep this pseudocode up here until we're done writing it, but because we're going to have to do more than just that. So for individual inventory summary, first we need to loop through the entirety of the blocks of the grid, basically. Kind of like we did up here before. And this is amazing. You can type in grid tab. Ah, I love it. Blocks.count. Right? And then it's giving me error things, but I think it's because I'm not done. Yeah, there we go. So basically it's however many blocks are in the thing. And then we're going to go kind of like the display all inventory, actually, down below. If blocks at I has inventory, oops, not semicolon. Alright. Now, for this particular, I just noticed this and it's kind of bugging me. Anytime I have a single line, I personally don't like to use the brackets. I know some people that will, just because it's context. If I wasn't clear about that, for those of you that may not be aware, if you have more than one line, you need these brackets on an if statement. If you have a single line, then you can usually get away with just having it. I don't know if you actually need it indented at all, or if it's just, it'll use the next line. I'm not sure. For this one, I know I'm going to have multiple lines, though, so I went ahead and did that. Okay, so if it has an inventory, that's what we first want to know. Now's where things get a little bit complicated. Actually, what I'm going to do is make a string value up here. And let's call this... Actually, hold on. No, I'm going to put it all in one string. What I was thinking about was if I wanted to put it inside the loop so that every time it looped through it would clear this. It's doable. Where does this get called? It gets called after we've set the right public text. It's already after we did this line. Okay. Let's actually try this. Let's call this block items. And we'll declare it with blank, basically. Now, in the loop, Actually, no. Let's do this first. We won't do it if we don't need to. Let's put it in here. We'll do block items equals nothing. And you might be going, why are you doing this? But it's because as it loops, this is outside the loop. So as this loops, it's going to get cluttered unless we just tell it to... Actually, hold on. No, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do a second statement. We can do grid blocks at index, which would be the block in question that we're working with. Get inventory. Okay, extension index. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be where the starting inventory is. Oh, crap. Hold on. I'm doing this in the wrong line. Alright, this is going to get a little messy here for a second. Oh! Ha ha ha. It also helps if you declare the list of items, doesn't it? My inventory item, we're going to call it items, because that's easy. No. And IntelliSense is really nice because it tends to try and figure out what you used last and stuff. So if you start typing a similar word, it usually jumps to that thing, which makes it really convenient. All right, so we're going to do items equals, let's paste this back in. So grid terminal system blocks at index, which is the current block we're working with, get inventory 0 dot get items. Now we're actually going to have to do a second loop. Oops. And this one, normally I use J, but the visual in the in-game programming block, I'm not a fan of. It makes it really hard to see. So I actually saw this used not too long ago in a forum as I2, so it's like the second loop counter. And I was like, ooh, I never thought about doing that before. That's kind of cool. Alright, so we're going to do, if I2 is less than items.count, so less than the items in the inventory, we'll do that. What happened? Why does it keep tabbing back? Oh, because it's supposed to, because I'm a knucklehead. Got it. IntelliSense fixing my own errors. Alright, so now we get to this line up here. And we're going to do... Now, they actually, I didn't put this in here, they actually had a plus equals because they were compounding the string value and then writing it once. We could do that. We could do that. But it makes it a bit more complicated as to how you're going to format everything. I don't know. We're going to try it this way and see if we can basically leave it as a template and then just do it every time. I don't know which way is actually more efficient. It's probably easier to do the plus equals. Let's try that. Let's go with that. We'll just work with it. Actually, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It's going to come out in the wash anyway. So we're going to do a couple tabs out. And from here, now again, this is formatting, so we can always play around with how this works. In fact, I might start it. What's the spacing that we did here? 3? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So let's do 3 because I kind of like how that looks. 1, 2, 3, and now we'll start actually doing stuff. So what I'm going to do is just some dashes and a space, and then what we'll do is we'll go grid blocks I dot subname, custom name. There we go. And then also this. Let's grab. I want to try and keep this even-ish. And new line, new line. Because what that's going to do is the first new line is going to bring it right under here, but I want to have like a space, I think, at least for the top. we might not need, let's try it without it. We might not need it. Now, you don't have to do another plus equals. Actually, because we're trying to keep this as a template, I am going to throw an if statement in here and say if block no, if I2 is equal to 0, so it's the first item in the list. No, how do I want to do this? If no, man, we're gonna have to do a blank. If block items equals blank, then we'll do it this way. Else, whoa, no, get rid of that. What are you doing? The reason I'm doing this, in case you were wondering, going, what are you doing, is that there's no new line characters. So if we start every line like this, it's going to be on the first line of, well, no, actually we don't have to do that. I'm a knucklehead again. Don't, just look at the finished product, not me making it. Because what we're going to do is we'll fix it at the bottom of the line. It'll be fine. I don't know why I did that. So, again, you could continue this in the same line. I personally am going to do a new line just so it's easier to read. We're going to space it out, and then plus, and now we're going to actually add in the item. So we'll do... Oh, no, crap. I got to take this part out. This has to be up here. The reason being, this is the header for the container, the inventory that we're working with. This is not the list of items. I'm glad I caught that. That would have been bad. We'll follow this subtype name thing. I don't know what actually it's going to spit out, but we'll see what it does. So I probably don't need this double bracket here. Okay. So now we're done looping through. We've got all the items. So now what we're going to need is we're going to need to add this back in here, but we're going to change it a little bit. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to do a long line about like that. Now, right here we have one new line. So basically, as it looks on your screen, actually I'm going to do a longer line just in case the... I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out how to format that. I'm not that good with string formatting. Anyways, the items are going to start right under this line, and because of how we have this set up, they're going to end right under this line, or right above. Everything in between is going to be all of the items for that inventory. Now, we don't have a way to set up new line characters at the beginning, so we have to take that into account. So this first line is going to drop it down to here, but I want at least another line before we start this. So let's start with 2, and if we need to change it, we'll do that. So, theoretically, and I always use that term because in programming you code something and you're like, yeah, this will totally work, and then it's like 4 or 5 iterations later you actually get it to work. So theoretically, we already have everything plugged into where this can be called, so all it has to do is call it. So we make a list of items, we make a new string. Now this happens each time this is called so that it clears it and it'll update it, basically. Grid terminals, it goes through all of the blocks, finds the one with the inventories, adds all of their items to the list, adds the name, loops through, gives you all of the items. Actually, hold on. I just realized this is only giving you the name. That's not good enough. What I want to do is we're going to add a colon and a space, and now a new line. I'm glad I caught that as well, because I don't want to just show the name. I want to show, and this is probably going to screw things up because of this little booger, so let's see if we can try this again. Sometimes you have to back it up and then put a new dot in. Amount. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So now it'll give us the name and the amount. That's what I wanted. Alright. Okay, so now the last step is outside this loop. So anyways, it gives you the name and the amount, then it adds a closing line and then opens a new line for the next item. Now outside this loop, we need to write the information to the display. So because we put everything in the string value, we should be able, theoretically, to just add the string. And I do want it to append because the title bar is going to clear out the previous text. Alright, so I think that'll work. I'm pretty sure that'll work. And then we'll I'm just going to copy and paste this in here for this one. And then we'll do some tweaking on that to do the total inventory summary. And there's a way that I figured out how to do that. I'll have to go back and look at a previous code set that I had. So let me exit out of here, and we'll go back into Space Engineers and see if this actually works. Alright, so here we are back in the game. Good news, I copied and pasted the code into the block, as you can see here. Where's all of our submenus? Now, this is actually a section of code that I copied from my original attempt at doing an inventory where I did actually add all of it up. I'm going to use it later in here to figure out how to kind of hybridize it. But this is our main one. So when we checked it, it compiled. Everything works, or it looks like it works. So that's good. Now, here's a test. Literally a test. Okay, and if we hit back, sweet. Power. Cool. Oh, that one's got a problem. It can go back. Weird. Okay, so that one's got some kind of bug in it somewhere. Weird. All right. So when we display all, we get what cargo containers we have. Now let's try. Please don't break. Ooh, that's interesting. Oh, I hit back. Ooh. Well, that's not cool. It at least lets me go back now. That's good. Well, now that's interesting. Why am I getting a blank screen, I wonder? Oh, and that one won't let me go back. Ugh. Alright, so let's take a peek at this real quick. Something in here is not correct. It might be in where it's being called. So, right main menu display... or no, right menu display. I was going to say that might change. But it's not main menu anyway. So... I wonder if it has to do with my cases up here. Let's make sure these are set up correctly. I'm always leery of like spelling and stuff like that, because when you're dealing with strings, there won't be an error unless you're actually looking for specific codes. But if you're just like, if it equals this, you know. This is the back button. But if we don't hit back, it should be fine. So under right main menu display, I keep saying main, it's not main. So if the inventory state is equal to this... Ah! That changed. Okay. That didn't. That's good. Spelling, man, uber important. Okay. Now that should give us a different approach. So, come on. Inventory. Oh, come on. It does let me go back, or it did. It doesn't now. Alright, so we know that the case is fine now that we fixed it. Individual inventory summary calls individual inventory summary. It makes sense, right? And then it updates. So under individual inventory, items equals list, grid blocks. If grid terminal system has inventory, which we pulled that before down here. If grid blocks has inventory, main display. Oh, hold on. I might have screwed something up. Now, I don't know if this is necessary, but we're going to put it in here anyway, just because we can, and it covers our butt. We're going to set all these to toString, just to make sure that everything going into it is a string, because that could be a problem. Write public text, block items, which is our string. Let's see if that works now. Oops. Okay. Come on, man. All right, here's one test we can try real quick. Here's an example of what I was telling you about with the comments. So we're going to do a /* and a */. That'll basically mean nothing that we wrote right there is happening. This is kind of a standard test thing. You are here. It's basically a quick and easy way to check to see if you're actually reaching a current state. Yes, so we are here. Okay. So that's not the problem. The problem is in the actual algorithm that we have set up here. Now, the other thing we can do, okay, here we are, is I'm going to cut this so that it's in my system, or my clipboard. I'm going to comment that out, and I'm going to remove this. So everything's back to normal. Now what we're going to do is in this, we're going to write it here, and then we're going to comment the rest of this out. Oops, wrong button. And in this way, we can test if we're getting to this stage or not. So it's all those little things that, you know, you are here, you are here, you are here, you are here. Okay. Oh, man. Alright. So that works. So it's something in the algorithm here of accessing the items that is not cooperating very well. Get items. I wonder if it's how this is being cast, but we're not even getting the name, which is weird. Like, it's under the has inventory, yet we're not even getting the names to the values. Huh. Okay. It shouldn't be clearing it every time, because as it loops through, we have all the appending. Oh! Alright, let me try something. I've had a lot of issues. Wait, no, we've done appending before, haven't we? I'd been working on another project recently that had a lot of problem with appending. No, that was something else. Never mind. That was something else. False alarm. blocks, items.count. Okay, block items, contents, all that looks right. And we should be at least getting this stuff, even if some of these are being weird. So I'm a little bit confused. Maybe that's... Wait. Maybe that's what it is. I think I might have had that commented out. Nope, that's still not working. Alright. Well, tell you what, I'm going to pause it for a second and see if I can figure out what's going on, and then I will be back when I've figured this out, because I don't want to burn through what little time we have left. By George, I believe we've got it. So actually, this was a really, really stupid mistake. So in the code here, some of you may have already seen this, I don't know. Where did it go? That was the other one down there. So we had this set up to make the name of whatever material it was, or the inventory, and then this was set up to do the type of object and the amount, right? The trouble is that this uses the index of I, because it's identifying the block number. This, however, we did as I2, and I did not have the index set up to I2, it was just I. So as soon as I changed that, now we actually had information coming in. So now we can select inventory summary, individual inventory, and bam! Now I should be able to go back. Yep. We can still move up and down. And bam! Now we could do a couple of different things. We could have this set up to where something along the line of I don't know, if we could have this set up actually to where, alright, I want to try something real quick. I'm thinking out loud a little bit here. I'm going to actually pause this and write up a script, because we're getting really low on time, that I just want to try out and play around with real quick, and if I can't get it, then I'm going to scrap it, but I want to see if I can surprise everybody. Alright, fine, I'm done. So, essentially, boom, there we go. So it does work. And just to show that it works, we're going to look at it from this angle, which shows the assembler, refinery, cargo container, small container. Like, it shows everything we've got, but it's all separated, as usual. The second, the second thing will be the one, the total inventory summary will be the one that actually does all of it. Like, it'll show you, not in each individual inventory like this one will, but it will show you the total amounts of everything you have. So, for example, I believe I've shown this before. What's top on the list? Missile. So let's grab 2 of these, and we'll put it in a large container. That's pretty easy to spot. There we go. So now this is the only thing that I was trying to work with off camera, where I switched and said I wanted to surprise everybody. I was going to try and do a timer update, to where if you tabbed into this menu and then didn't hit the back key, it would trigger a timer to keep the thing running. It kind of worked, kind of didn't. I was onto something, but it kind of fell apart, so I didn't end up using it. But as you can see now, there's 2 missiles and 2 missiles. Now, this wouldn't change if we were on the total inventory summary here, because it would just say we still have 4 missiles. So that shows that it works. Now, we also, the other thing I was going to try and work on is scrollability. I would like the Welcome to Sleepless OS to be up at the top, but I'd like to scroll through. I was actually, since we already have the inputs, I was going to use the up and down functions to scroll through, like, I don't know, 10 lines at a time. But I didn't really build it with that in mind, so I'm going to have to kind of go back and look at how to set up the string to be a bit more compatible, I guess? I don't know. I don't really know how I'm going to do that. Maybe every time we make a new line, add 2 to a counter or something, I guess. I don't know how to trim the fat to where, like, we display more at the bottom and not at the top, and, you know, like, I'm a little not sure how to do that. So if any of you know of an easy way to do it, let me know. I do know that M-Master did that in his adjustable LCDs, which is, I looked at the code for that, and it's freaking incredible. Like, there's just so much to that code. I probably wouldn't be able to pull it off quite like that. But I will say, I know his was originally written before the arguments were put into place. I know that he's tried to update it as best you can, but sometimes when the whole thing is built around something and then a new feature is implemented, you'd have to gut the whole thing and start over to really utilize it completely. I don't know if he's done that or not. I don't keep up with the stuff, but I do know that he accomplished the scrollability, but I'd like it to be user done. I think, I don't quote me on this, because I glanced over the code, I didn't really look into it, but I think it's automated to where, like, if there is more lines, it just scrolls periodically. I thought. I could be completely wrong on that. But since we have up and down already set up, it should be just a simple matter of working with the string and figuring out how to get the string to move up and down. So I'll try and work with that as I can. No guarantees, though. So yeah, timer updates would have been cool. An ability that if you go into this sub-menu to trigger the timer to turn on. I'm still working with that. I think it's going to be order of operations. I think how I had it set up before, it just was not working correctly. But we'll see. I don't know. I have a few ideas that I have to try. I just ran out of time. I've been working on this for like all afternoon, off and on, in between sections where I cut out, and I was like, okay, I'll be back in a minute. You know, I was working on stuff. So yeah, this works now though. We've got our individual inventory summary, and then displaying all of the inventories that are available. We can move back. We can go to this one. Oops, too far back. We can check this out. We can go back. The only one that's actually not behaving quite right is the oxygen system, and I think that's just because I'm looking at it and it goes from power status to the same point that power status is. Refinery goes to, it defaults to the second slot, so I'm thinking that oxygen is just defaulting to the fourth and there is no fourth, so. But it's coming along. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's actually, we're pretty easy to move around in the menus now, which is awesome. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. In the meantime, I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.